The following program is a production of HEW Entertainment, heard on the official website of HEW Entertainment. It's that time once again for HEW Entertainment Radio.
And that's all I got to say about that.
Hosted by Jonathan Clarke.
The beat! The man! You gotta beat the man! Whoa!
Be sure to join us in the live chat room during the show.
Hulkamania is running wild like it's never ran before.
Call us on one of our request lines. If you live in the United States, call us at 1-641-985-7800, box number 3729280. If you're from Canada and would like to call us from 1-647-724-4194, box number 3729280. Long distance charges may apply in some areas.
I've been the World Heavyweight Champion 10 times.
Or you can always drop us a line at MySpace, myspace.com/HEW Entertainment.
And you will rest in peace.
Emailing us works for you too. Email us HEWWrestling@hotmail.com.
I am a wrestling god. JBL.
And now, without any further ado, here is your host of HEW Entertainment Radio on the official website of HEW Entertainment, Jonathan Clarke.
The champ is here!
Now streaming live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Streaming live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. HEW Entertainment Radio is inviting you to comment on our video blogs, join the conversation, and like us. Comment on our video blogs, join the conversation, and like us. So what are you waiting for? Log on and listen now. I'm your host, Jonathan Clarke, here to tell you, our fans, the complexion of the WWE has drastically changed. Those were the words of Michael Cole, which he dropped at the conclusion of the latest edition of Raw, just 24 hours after what I believe was the greatest WrestleMania of all time. Just 24 hours after the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity match between John Cena and The Rock that saw The Rock win the most incredible match of The Rock's career, I believe, for a lot of reasons that I won't get into because we have talked about WrestleMania week after week in anticipation of it. But the biggest shocker of it all came just 24 hours after WrestleMania when Brock Lesnar made his return to WWE for the first time in 8 years. That's pretty close to almost a decade of absence from WWE. After having his UFC career end because of a stomach injury, Brock Lesnar resorts to going back to what brought him to the dance, the WWE, for the first time in 8 years, to feud with someone who he feuded with about 9 years ago. In 2003, it looks like John Cena and The Rock is going to be dropped at an up-and-coming WWE pay-per-view. You saw at the top of the show, we are streaming the show on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and we are inviting our fans on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter to tell us what you think of Brock Lesnar's return. Do you think he's going to feud with John Cena? Do you think it'll be somebody else, like The Rock, Randy Orton, Sheamus, Kane? Are some of the potential opponents of Brock Lesnar in his inaugural feud for the first time in 8 years? We'll find out who it'll be over the next couple of weeks when he gives us a reason as to why he's back. In just 24 hours now on Raw, we'll find out why Lesnar is back. He will speak for the first time since his return. And it was funny because, if you were to say a couple of months ago that Brock Lesnar would be the guy to return the night after WrestleMania, out of all the possibilities of people returning or coming out of retirement just 24 hours after the biggest WrestleMania of all time, we knew WWE had to do something. But did you think they would go as far as to bring Brock Lesnar back into it? Brock Lesnar having his UFC career end because of a stomach injury. He had his ass handed to him. The guy he fought said that if he ever stepped foot inside of the ring, he was going to kill Brock Lesnar, not just end his career, he was going to kill him. And if he returns to the UFC, I'm sure he will follow through with that promise. He definitely did end his career. He didn't kill him, but he ended his career. Now Lesnar, after having his career end, is back in the WWE to become champion for the first time in 8 years. Last time we saw Lesnar as the WWE champion when he lost the title to Eddie Guerrero, the late great one, in 2004 at that year's No Way Out pay-per-view, as his final WWE match against Goldberg. Now all of a sudden he's back. I wonder what Goldberg has to be thinking to himself at a time like this, knowing that Brock Lesnar is back. If you were to tell me this probably 6 months ago when we were fans talking about John Cena versus The Rock, I would have said you were crazy, because Brock Lesnar was the last guy who I thought would be back the night after WrestleMania. Now I know the night after WrestleMania is an important and crucial night because it really is a night that will tell you what is ahead for the remainder of the year. The people who come out on top of the WrestleMania that year are the ones that are made the biggest deal out of, and the ones who make debuts, like in this case we saw Lord Tensa make his WWE debut. He's a former WWE superstar that went to Japan to make a name for himself. He does that and comes back as Lord Tensa. He's very similar to Hakushi. He's going to have a lot of momentum now just after WrestleMania making his debut. The night after WrestleMania, I know, is a crucial night for debuts and returns, and it really designates the direction of the entire company. And it's the night that the complexion of the company usually changes every year. It's either that night or the draft lottery, which will drop in just a couple of months. Usually around the middle of spring we see the draft lottery after WrestleMania. A lot of wrestlers are excited about that one. So it's either the night after WrestleMania or the draft where the complexion of the company drastically changes. And, of all the people to make a return, Brock Lesnar was the last guy on my mind to make a return. People were saying Goldberg potentially could be coming to WWE. There was the occasional fan of Sting saying Sting was coming to WWE to challenge The Undertaker in a feud. We've been waiting on for years. Vince McMahon would kill somebody to have that one. There were a lot of people being thrown up in the air as possibilities to make returns or make debuts for WWE, and Brock Lesnar was a guy that I never thought possible of coming back to the WWE. Now, I did a lot of research about Brock Lesnar after he made his return and gave John Cena that memorable F5, and apparently what happened, Lesnar had this stomach injury in the UFC, and now all of a sudden, because he's unable to compete in the UFC because of doctor's orders. He knew he was hurt initially in the match, according to some fans and some close personal friends that I've had the chance to speak to about this. And he makes the decision now to come back to WWE. I find that kind of weird because a couple of years ago when he left WWE for the first time and departed ways with the company, he tore up a contract that was initially worth more money than his first ever WWE deal he signed in 2002. He tears up the contract because he wants to remain with the UFC. And now all of a sudden, because his career in the UFC ends and he's left with no other option, he can't go back to football. Because of course the realism in that is 100% real. No faking that. And he comes back to WWE now for the first time in 8 years. You know, it's going to be interesting to see what WWE do with Brock Lesnar, what kind of entrance music he has. I don't see him using that same entrance music he used 8 years ago, although it did signify the entrance of one of the most dominant WWE superstars of the last decade. In the early 2000s, Lesnar was probably the greatest wrestler of the early years of the 21st century, definitely, and the greatest superstars of the 21st century. Definitely takes a look at people like Lesnar and how influential they were in the early 2000s. And Brock Lesnar was a guy who stood out. You know, he made feuds with The Undertaker, John Cena, The Rock, who he feuded with in the